So let's reflect. First things first, we have to understand, or come to an understanding, that there is a intelligence that creates, all right? Whether you choose to call it, God, or whatever terminology or personification or label you wish to articulate when speaking of that thing. There is definitely something that creates, right? Um so I guess in essence, there should be no debate. When thinking truthfully, there should be no debate, right? Because if you think about just the current, you know, you exist. But how is that the case? How is it that you exist? And regardless of what your answer is to that, it would indicate that you came from something, right? The fact that you came from something indicates that there was something that created before your presence, before your existence. And I'm speaking beyond your lineage, like your ancestors. I'm speaking beyond all that. It's just beyond that, because it doesn't stop with them, because something created them. If you can go back to the first, the earliest um, being to exist here, something had to create that as well. You know, there's you can't stop it where you want to stop it at. Is that's the the point of all of this. There's other levels, right? You can't dictate where you want to start unless you're doing it for a purpose. Now, if you have like some type of purpose or whatever, and it could be whether it's a positive or negative purpose. So you have those that have ulterior motives, and they choose to articulate where something began or how something began, and they can even um, state a foresight of how it's all going to end. It's to be determined, the the latter portion. As far as the former, you have some that say that it was the Big Bang that kind of started everything out, but what created that, right? There was something before that, and to even say the Big Bang, man, it's like, okay, the Big Bang had to happen within something. That would be space, right? Okay, so if it happened in space, then what created space? What is space? What's the essence of it? All right, and then when you conclude whatever your conclusion leads you to as to what created space that allowed the Big Bang to take place, what created that that which created the space, what created that, right? All right. The Many say when the question of how did God come about, and say uh, a lot of times the answer is he spawned from nothingness, and that's supposed to be a sufficient answer. And that's honestly, for lack of a better term, bullshit. Because to say he spawned from nothingness is to say that he spawned from something. Because in order for nothingness to exist, it has to be something. You can give it a name. You say nothingness, right? Give it a time factor. When did nothingness take place? So by saying that, you're saying that there was something that was here before God that spawned, that created nothingness, and then nothingness created God. So just be a little more, I guess, thought worthy when you attempt to give an answer, because nothingness is something. There's no way around that. In order for it to be anything, in order for you to be able to call it nothingness, in itself states that it is something, right? So if you want to say that that's what God spawned, then okay, what spawned the nothingness? All right, and then when you come to some conclusion of that, then what spawned that which spawned nothingness? As far as an answer, I don't have it. This isn't about the answer. What it is about, though, is not allowing yourself to feel as though you have the answer when you're speaking of that, until that can actually be explained. And it may be one of those things that is more so infinite than anything. There will never be a actual endpoint. So if that's the case, then perhaps you should take a, or and this is just my opinion, you know, if you are one to do that, perhaps one should look at that in which it determines or deems to be God. Because if you're saying that, and if you go to the Bible, you can say that, okay, that which is the Word, that which spawned the Word is God. Okay, well, what spawned the thought that spawned the Word? Because you have to have thought before you can utter the word. It has to be a thought first. So that's a limitation on God, I guess is what I'm saying. Do I believe in God? In a sense of what I guess you think belief is, then yeah, you can say that. But I say no, because it's a difference between a belief and knowing, right? So I know God, right? There's, or the all, which is what I call it, because and even that is a limitation. But that which created all things, that which is all things, that which permeates all things, the essence of all things. And you can even question what created that, right? So it would be one of those things where it's like, it's levels, depending upon like your level of thought, your due diligence in pondering and meditating on a different or a newer, a more concise, a more precise answer to that. Because there's going to be a greater truth than whatever you arrive to. Each and every time you arrive to something, it's going to be a greater. Don't place any limitations, right? Even saying that God is He, that's a limitation as well. Because what you're saying is that, uh, you know, God is a male, and a male is personified. Think about it. You got men in this world, right? Just like you got women in this world. It's personification of essence, of the vessel, of the being. You don't think God is beyond what you are, or what a being is, or what a man is, or what a he or a she is? That it's okay to say that, he all the time. I understand what your word or your book may say, and I think, again, when you look at what that stands for, that's like a basic knowledge, to kind of, I guess, get people to some degree in tune with learning the path to truth, instead of taking that for the only truth, right? Like, the only truth that there is what the Bible states. I beg to differ. And that's simply because you can't fit all of what God is in between the confinements of two covers. It's not going to happen. How many words are in the Bible? I don't know. I haven't looked that up. But God is greater than all that. I know that for damn certain. So you can take that for what it's worth, as far as like the book. There is a lot of wisdom in it, and it can definitely help those arrive to answers. But fun fact, the answer's already in you. That which created you gave you everything you needed. Because you have some people that can't read. If they can't read the Bible, then how do they arrive or come to whatever? You can say prayer, but still, that in itself is not enough. Because one, if what you're praying about is not attached to how you really feel, then you're not going to really see it. In other words, when you are able to make the two one, then you can actually see that in which you desire. In other words, when you can take your thought, your emotions, and they align, they're evenly yoked, they're together, right? And then you can speak that thing. Honestly, you don't even have to say a word. You don't have to speak anything. You can think it and project that, and that'll be enough, because the frequency in which you are sending into the all, God, is all that's really needed. There are, I don't know, hundreds of languages, right? Everybody doesn't speak the same language verbally. But when you start to take into consideration that everyone can feel what they want, right? Everyone can think about what they want. Okay, that's a frequency. That's a vibration. That's thought energy. Everybody speaks that language. That's the language that everybody speaks, because that's the language of the universe. The universe don't give a fuck about your verbiage. English, Spanish, Greek, Latin, whatever your language is. That's of no importance. What's important is what you feel and what you think. That you're in unison when you are asking or requesting that in which you desire, or that in which you need, or even that in which you want. It has to be a unison. When that takes place, you will see those things manifest. That's the language of God. That's the ultimate language. That's the language that really counts. People say, well, I pray, and yeah, it does, because you're already feeling and thinking it. You saying it has, it's like, okay, great. You can vocalize in your language what you feel and what you're thinking. You don't necessarily have to say it. You're only saying it for yourself. You're not saying it again. How you gonna say something that already knows what it is that you desire? You don't have to do any of that. All right, you're doing it for yourself. To speak again the true language by making it the thought and emotion one is what's making it take place. That's why some people can pray about certain things and they never see those things and they feel like they're not worthy of what they've been praying for. No, that's not the case. It's just that you weren't really evenly yoked with what you were requesting. That's it. That's it. Your thoughts and your emotions, you may have been thinking that this is what you want. And you may not have been feeling that. Or you may have been thinking that that's what you wanted, in other words, and you may have felt as if you're not really worthy of that. Or you may have been in doubt to some degree. Like, okay, I know I'm asking for this. I don't know if it's going to happen because, I've asked for things in the past and, I never get those things. Stop killing your essence. Stop killing your, your desires. That's what you really want. You got to know that that's what you want. You got to feel it. You got to speak it. And I'm not talking verbally. When I say you got to speak it, you have to let that frequency out. And a lot of people are afraid of the word frequency and energy and vibrations. And you don't understand that that is what you are, period. That is you. You're vibrating on a specific frequency. That's why you're able to touch something instead of your hand going through it. Now, let's say you could raise your vibration to something that is extremely high. Your physical self, you could raise that vibration. Then guess what? You could probably fall through wherever you're sitting or standing because, the frequency is too high for that thing. Or you may be in a sin. But all things have a vibration. Some things vibrate slower than others. Usually the things that vibrate slower are the things that are a little more tangible and solid. Those things that vibrate on a higher plane are a little more spiritual or, etheric or, whichever you wish to deem it. And astrio is not a bad thing. That's not a bad word. It's no different from any other word that you choose to utilize to signify what it is that you're signifying. Right? Again, that which creates all things, that actually created that thing as well, don't care about what you call it. None of that matters. Doesn't matter what you call it. Everything is all in how you use it and how you utilize it. Prime example, social media. How you utilize social media is up to you. Some people utilize it for business. Some people utilize it to stay in touch with friends and family. Some people utilize it to scam. Some people utilize it to put out negativity. It's a tool, right? How you go about utilizing that tool once it's in your hands, solely up to you. So it doesn't make the tool bad. The tool is just there. That's like someone getting mad at the bark instead of being mad at the damn dog. The dog is the one barking. It ain't the bark that's barking. It's the tool. That's it. The tool itself is not good or bad. It's there. The tool is neutral. It's extremely neutral. That neutrality alone is not good or bad. It's neutral, right? Once you acquire it, it becomes that in which you desire it to be. Now, you got some people that's scamming and they think that that's a positive thing, right? But the one who's getting scammed doesn't feel the same way. That alone says a lot, because what that states is that perception has a lot to do with it as well. If you're perceiving this thing to be positive and it's harming someone else, over here, the one that's getting harmed doesn't see it as being positive, right? They don't. But at the same time, there's always a positive and a negative. I'll explain: the person that's getting scammed don't like it, right? But how were they able to get scammed? What part in that process did they play? If they sit and ponder on that, they'll arrive to an answer. That answer is positive because now that just added more wisdom onto them. So they may get scammed again, but it won't be in the same manner if they apply that wisdom to how they proceed moving forward. So it's you have to be diligent when something that you deem negative takes place, because again, all things are just, everything's neutral. You choose whether it's a positive or a negative. Just being diligent alone when things take place will give you a different insight as well as change your mindset. Being able to change your mindset is extremely valuable because it yields you much reward. It can definitely yield you anything. But you have to recognize that mindset may not be equivalent to what I've been requesting. And if it's not, then why do you feel like you're deserving of that thing? Because let's say that you did acquire it. Perhaps it could be a downfall because your mindset isn't equivalent to what you're asking for. You get yourself in a position where you're a millionaire, right? You got and we've seen this I don't know how many times. Become a millionaire, maybe they hit the lottery or whatever. And let's say within 5 years, they're going to be considering looking for a job within the next two. So 7 years tops. Mindset. You ask a millionaire that has $100 million and they actually acquired it not through the lottery but through their work ethic or their choices, the decisions that they made. And I can guarantee you that the things that the person who won the lottery, their moves aren't the same. Totally different. And that's based off of the decisions that they would have made with their winnings, after taxes and all that crap. So, did they invest into assets or did they invest into liabilities? And honestly, investing into a liability is not really an investment. Just being real. So I think we need to be a little more diligent and a little more conscious of that in which we think, how we perceive things, especially when it's word of, you're attaching a word to a tool. And let's not place limitations on self. Your only limitation should be that you don't have any limitations, right? Until something greater can be placed within the ramifications of that understanding, then my only limitation is that I don't have any limitation. That's one of those things that is per success right? So, for instance, I think whatever a person's preference is whatever they choose, and it's great by all means. You do whatever, but whatever your preference is your limitation. Don't be the individual though that wishes to project your preference upon someone else. Me, I'm straight male, and I have no quarrels, issues, or whatever with anyone that wants to do whatever they want to do, as long as it's not projected towards me. So, to make that real short, just keep your limitations limited, but don't discriminate. Whoever's gay has the right to be gay. That's their choice. And as long as no one's making them be that, then they're good because they chose to be that. Let them live. Whether straight or gay or bi or whatever, let them live. Let them be. As long as it's not affecting you. You don't have to look over there and be in disgust for whatever reason. And I'm not promoting anything other than life. Free will. That's what I'm promoting. So they have free will to be that, let them be it. If that person has free will to be straight, let them be it. That person has free will to be gay, let them be it. It doesn't have to be a part of you. You don't have to make it a part of you. You don't have to even articulate within that dialogue. Right? This is what this is all about, though. It's sharing mind. That's it. We're sharing mind. And as humans and as brothers and sisters on this planet, we can do that. Right? All right, and as any color, white, black, green, orange, polka dot, plaid, diesel, taupe, whatever. This is what we are. Let everything be in good health. Health, peace, and prosperity. I love you all.